It's so funny because like I feel like snow camo is a lot bigger deal in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, it's cultural norms and
it's
stuff. They have their
crazy.
own deer
It's
hunting
just
culture over
funny.
there. I mean, over there, wool even isn't as big. I mean, it's big because it's Northeast, but they really love the polar fleece over there. The
Take
Northeast is just crazy overall. I mean, if you take a step back and look at it, all the different states, how different they hunt, and then like the cultures amongst them as far as deer hunters go, like the Vermonters,
oh,
the New
it's
Yorkers,
wild.
the Mainers. It's weird. I mean, it's probably
It
probably for a
is
lot of
weird.
guys, it's like can't wrap their head around it. I'm
I
sure a lot of like Midwesterners that hunt are probably like, what the fuck are those guys doing up there?
I
You know what I
totally
mean?
agree. Like what? Okay, whatever. I don't know what you guys are doing up there, but like
Yeah.
Welcome to the Just Hunt podcast.
all right, everybody, welcome to episode 21 of the Just Hunt podcast. We have a cool one today. I'm excited. We have Adam Lamson from Stagr Gear, which is pretty cool to have on. Those that aren't familiar with Stagr, maybe they aren't watching from the Northeast. I'd say if you're in the Northeast, you're probably pretty familiar at this point, and maybe getting more and more familiar across the country. But Adam's making some really high quality stuff made. Well, I know the company's out of Vermont, correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's good stuff. A lot of it's wool based. It's made for hardcore hunters, I'd say, that are hunting in pretty rugged conditions. And yeah, do you want to talk? Well, I'm trying to think of. Let's go into a little bit of your background before we get to the Stagger, because I actually
Yeah.
am interested in the whole story of like the evolution of Stagger and how it started, because I haven't heard it, which is good. So we can
Right on.
pick
Refresh
that
them.
apart on the podcast. So
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me on. I
yeah,
appreciate it. You guys are doing a really good job with the podcast so far. It's
thank
been
you.
fun to listen to. But yeah, if you want to roll right into it, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's see. I studied marketing and business through school. Always kind of been interested in entrepreneurship and stuff like that.
Where did you go to school?
Um,
I may cut you off and
I
ask you. Yep.
graduated from Castleton University
Okay.
in Southern Vermont
Yep.
there. Studied law enforcement, and then I switched over to business. Originally thought I was going to go into law enforcement, maybe do game warden, something like that.
Yep.
Got into marketing, enjoyed that, did that for a few years, and then was always kind of playing around with some business ideas. And why not do something that you're passionate about? I've always been into hunting and stuff.
Yep.
So from there, got Stagger rolling. Did both. Worked a 9 to 5 for a while, and worked on Stagger for a couple of years. And last year, as of May, went full time with it. It's been good so far, but
Okay.
yeah, we're making stuff for Northeast hunters. Most, like you said, mostly wool stuff, but we're kind of branching out into some synthetic stuff and kind of working our way out of the niche that's the Northeast hunting community. But that's where we
Yep.
started, and that's kind of what we're based
Yeah.
out of.
Um.
But I guess
Yeah.
a little more background to start the business. I used to be into bass fishing a lot. I used to fish a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. Had a boat. Sold the boat. Kind of locked in for 2 years and put all that money, bootstrapped the business, and it's been going from there. Here we are
So,
today.
what were you doing before you went full time with Stagger?
I was doing business development and marketing for a labor union up here in northern
Okay.
Vermont
Yeah.
for plumbers, pipe fitters, and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Gotcha.
Which
Gotcha.
Greg, who people are listening that do the podcast with, he was actually my boss there. He still works there.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, branched out from there.
And
Gotcha.
where did I think you and I are the same age. Where did you go to high school?
Harwood
Okay.
Union. It's out of Moortown, Vermont.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I went to
Are you from Vermont?
Yeah, I went to Lake Region.
Oh, no shit. We probably played baseball. You play baseball?
Yeah. What year did you graduate?
2015, sorry.
Yeah, so we're the same-
2019 for college.
Yeah, we're the same age, so we definitely played against each other.
Yeah, we played ball then. That's funny. It's a chance of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's back up a little more. Tell me about the roots of this idea. Like, how did that develop in your mind before it is even a solid concept?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been, Johnson Woolen Mills has been a company that made stuff for,
Yep.
Northeast hunters for a while. At the time when I was kind of rolling around the idea, there was just like a lack of options I felt for Northeast hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there really wasn't a gear company that catered and built stuff to Northeast hunters. And I mean, you hunt up here all the time. Northeast hunters kind of have their own little,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's niche, and we kind of have our own ideas about stuff, especially when it comes to clothing. Like,
Yep.
I mean, the rest of the country's, wearing camo and technical gear and stuff. And up here, you're still probably 60 to 70% of guys are, still wearing the checker jacket, the
Yep.
wool. It's just kind of part of the tradition up here. But I felt like nobody was really making, that same traditional type of stuff, but with some technical aspects to it that would improve it. And then just lack of options, like I was saying, like nobody really made gear for us up here. So I was like, I think it's something to run with, and I saw a market for it. So kind of went from there. And like I was saying, at the time, Johnson was really only making stuff, and the owner at that time kind of was moving away from the hunters. They've since been bought out, and they've done a good job kind of moving back towards hunters.
Okay.
So that was kind of another reason. And then price point too. A lot of the wool stuff at the time seemed very expensive for me. I mean, I was coming out of college, didn't have a lot of money. So I wanted to, make some affordable gear and some new gear and some unique stuff for hunters up here.
Was the idea or did it root in your personal experience?
Yeah.
Was there like, hey, like, for example, was there like, hey, I wish these pants had pockets? Was there one little thing that started?
There was one product, yes.
Yeah.
So the first product idea I ever worked on was the Blaze Cape, which is nothing that's like that crazy. It's a Blaze Cape that, comes down halfway for people that don't, a lot of people wear full vests, but in the Northeast, we like just the half body things you can get into your pockets.
Yeah.
And at the time, nobody was like making them. I don't think Johnson wasn't making them. I think Filson was making something similar. It was like made out of cotton, but it didn't really do the job. And that was the first product I thought of, something that was lightweight, affordable, and kind of I'd be up in my room cutting pieces of fabric out, piecing it together, stitching together, building some little cheap prototypes on my own. But it all started there. And then I think the second product that I started working on before we even launched the business was our carbine glove. It seemed like everybody had like a heavy wool glove or was fingerless, but it was just a simple trigger finger style glove that had insulation. It was made out of wool, performed good. And it was those two products we started with. Wasn't even really planning on getting into doing outerwear that first year, but once we kind of announced we were coming out and announced a few products, we were like, you got to make a jacket, you got to do this, you got to do that. And we're like, well, we might as well jump right into it. So kind of went from there.
Yeah, we Phil and I wore. What are the more lightweight wool gloves that you have? What are those called?
The Apex Merino ones.
Yeah, I'd bounce back and forth depending on the weather between those and the thicker fingerless ones, and they held up really well. And I liked them just because you have like dexterity and.
Yeah, your gloves are great because you have different options, which may not be ideal from a sales and inventory standpoint, but it's nice as a hunter to have options because like really one glove doesn't like suit you for the whole season or even any condition, right? Like, so, I like that I can be like, these ones are good for today. Or like, I enjoy the options.
Yeah.
And I guess,
I think we got like 5 or 6 different glove SKUs. So it gets a lot when you're trying to sort inventory on racks and stuff. And we just moved into the new shop here in a new 2,200 square foot, like garage type of shop. So still working on getting that organized and all the shelving and everything like that, but it's coming along good.
So, and I want you to correct me or give me take. It's like you have like traditional wool clothing with like a technical, we'll say, I guess innovative spin on it, if that makes sense. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, the slogan that we're rocking with right now is technical traditional. When we started and kind of launched we were more focused on like the tracking side of things. Our original slogan was built to track because we were making stuff that was more geared towards trackers because there really wasn't at the time. And then since then, we've kind of branched out our products and not solely looking towards tracking, but more just general hunting in the Northeast. So, and then incorporating more of the, technical designs into that traditional stuff. So, I mean, from our pants, we've kind of modernized the wool pant quite a bit. That's been one of our biggest product successes. And then, our jackets, layout, all that stuff.
I want to get your take on this. I'm just curious. The wool stuff, I love wool actually, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's the best thing for every application all the time, and I think you would probably agree with that. I think I want to say most people. Some people would agree with that. The one thing that I am still struggling with, that I just can't understand with the Northeast thing, and I don't know if I've talked about on this podcast, but we've had many conversations, is the rubber boot thing.
Oh, don't even get me going on that.
Oh, are you on my side?
I'm not using rubber boots. Let's have a conversation about it.
Okay,
I was just talking to Greg about this today.
Because I
Brett's feet don't get cold for starters.
Yeah,
which probably means your feet don't sweat.
I mean, sometimes. But, okay, regardless. I started – the reason I wore rubber – I used to wear rubber boots, so it's not like I've never worn them and don't know anything about them, and I'm just like I'm coming from experience. I wore them because when I was younger, because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do to hunt whitetails. Like I'm supposed to wear rubber boots. For all the because everybody around here wears them, because the people in the Midwest walking up a cornfield to a tree stand wear them because of scent, like all these things. And I'm like, I just have to wear rubber boots. And then I don't know. Oh, kind of when I started like hunting the mountains a lot more, like really focusing on them, I just was like, man, these things like suck to hike up mountains in. Like they suck.
Yeah, they do.
That's what I thought to myself. And I'm not, if people have their preference, I know they're in love with them, and maybe it's a nostalgia thing or a tradition thing. Fair, like cool. But I was like, I felt like I was like, this doesn't work for this. So I was like, I need a better solution. And so I started getting into, some of the more mountain hiking style boots. Like Crispies are the ones I wear, but I looked at Kenetrek and
Me too.
Zamberlin and a couple of the other ones there. But I'm just still struggling. Like even honestly, like I don't want to say this, but I feel like if I had to pick an application for a rubber boot, I feel like wear rubber boots in a tree stand sitting, like have a mile walk, walk to a stand and sit there. Like tracking and still hunting and like covering ground is when I would least want to have rubber boots, but everybody is focused. Like that's when I don't get it. I don't understand what it is. And
I think more people are starting to transition out of them.
You think so?
I mean, I think it definitely is a tradition thing. I was the same as you. That's what I thought I had to wear. My dad's always worn those. My grandpa's always worn them. The green lacrosse boots. Everybody has a pair up here. I mean, everybody that hunts deer in the Northeast has a pair of green lacrosse boots. And I think it's mostly tradition. I think people just don't know. There's better options out there, especially for tracking. And like you, like if I'm gonna go sit somewhere, I'll probably wear like an insulated rubber boot, like maybe like an 800 gram, insulated rubber boot. But when it comes to tracking and hiking around, it's a night and day difference wearing like a Crispy with a gator versus a rubber boot. And we've kind of talked about this on our podcast. I mean, and like everybody has different preferences.
Sure.
I mean, if you used a rubber boot and you like that and you tape up your ankles just so you get a little bit of ankle support, sure, go ahead. But we've kind of advocated and talked about, switching to a lace-up boot with a gator versus a rubber boot when it comes to tracking. Because, I mean, I wore a rubber boot one day turkey hunting. This year was a super wet day. And usually I'm wearing a Crispy. I think I wear the Laponia Light with I wear a Kuyu gator or something like that with it. And I wore lacrosse boot.
Tracking gators. There you go. Tracking gators. I don't know if you have.
Yeah. We kind of flirted around with some ideas. We're working on that. Not to give it all away.
I'll be your advocate for them. ditch the rubbers and put on the Stagger Gators.
There isn't a lot of quiet ones out there for gators. That's the biggest part of it. But I was wearing those lacrosse boots one day turkey hunting, and we were trying to work around this tom and steep ass gully. And I'm trying to side hill this gully, and I'm hanging on to all the whippets and shit like Tarzan, just trying to pull myself up because there's just no ankle support in those compared to a lace-up boot.
Yeah.
And once I switched over and tried a Crispy, I'm like, I'm never going back to those unless I absolutely have to. I mean, I keep preparing the truck for, if I got to cross a river or something like that, like to get a deer out, or just have as a backup pair. But yeah, I've fully switched over to a lace-up boot, and I think a lot more people in the Northeast are starting to do that.
From personal experience, I've shied away from them just because a lot of those better quality lace-up style boots are significantly more expensive. And I think that's probably a mindset that a lot of people have is like, it's a big investment to make if you don't even know you like it in the first place. Like you don't know how it's going to perform, and you have All Reliable that may not be the best, but it's relatively cheap. And you know what you're going to get. So I think that's probably what shies a lot of people away from it. In addition
makes sense.
To the nostalgia thing.
I mean, they are like $120 now. I mean, a pair of Crispies is almost $300.
Yeah.
Something like that.
At least. They're probably like,
four.
I think there may be if you don't have to get Crispies, of course. I think there's probably a little cheaper options, but I think most of the better quality boots in that class are probably you know, I mean, the Crispies, I think some of them were like 400.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
could look it up, but they're expensive. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, that may be part. Are those green lacrosses
Like $100.
$100? Yeah. Well,
I think
okay.
if you,
They're
I
like
think if you get
$100,
the grips,
but I
probably
mean,
a little bit more. But
from my experience, when I was using them over the years, I was always blowing them out. I'd get one year
Yeah.
out of them. I'd get a deer season, I'd get a turkey season, and then the
Yeah.
heel would be blown out, and shit would be ripping off them. So I mean, a good lace-up boot, whether it's a Crispy or Zamberlan or whatever, typically is going to last you 4 or 5 hard seasons, I feel like. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're saving money in the long run if you do switch over. But I mean, it all comes down to preference, like we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the other thing with rubbers, and you're talking about feet sweating and getting cold. I feel like that rubber just holds that moisture in.
Yeah.
And then
It
you
does.
just have like foot soup in there.
Oh,
Like, so
hot
I'll
supper
wear,
in your
so
boot.
I used to do this. So listen, because I'd like to tell you, I've had been down the rubber rabbit hole. I used to have these like, well, on me they were like thigh high, and you they'd be like knee high, but they were these rubber like super like high boots, like they were past my knees, and I used to wear them like scouting and like running trail cameras because I was like a scent Nazi, and I'm still pretty conscious of like trying to leave minimal scent in certain situations, but I used to wear those all the time in the woods, and I would hike and go set this and scout and hang cameras, do whatever, and I would get back to the truck, and literally my pants were soaked, like saturated under those boots, like from above my knees down to my socks every time, like just drenched. And I'm like, you get like rubbing and shit. I don't know. I just, like I said, I don't know that it, but maybe if you have wool, and obviously I wasn't hunting, so I was probably had like cotton or something, maybe polyester type pants on when I did that. But yeah, I don't know. I just trap some moisture. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan. Like, I will wear them if I'm going into like a swamp.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I know I'm going to be standing in 6 inches of water. Sure. Like, yeah, that's an appropriate, in my opinion, application for those boots. But I mean, if I have to cross a stream or a river quick, or whatever, gators is fine, and move pretty quickly, you're usually good. But if you're in any sort of terrain, you're probably not like, but I've even went through swamps with like that same thing, and you know, I haven't had
I've
issues.
crossed
Like,
rivers and
my
everything
feet-
with a gator. Yeah,
Yeah, my feet.
they hold them. They keep the water out pretty good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean,
like you're saying, the moisture management of those things isn't the best. Your feet. I mean, I remember getting back to camp at the end of the day. I mean, not having snow down my boot or nothing, that'd be wringing out a sock.
Right.
And
Yeah.
with the lace-up boot, you don't get that because they breathe.
Yeah, and you're like, I just feel like you're like, yeah, my feet are going to be soaked at the end of the day no matter what with the rubber boot, even though the water didn't get in. And I thought that's the whole point of rubber boots, is to keep the water out.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. Like
Get
I
you
said,
from
it
the
just,
inside.
I can't make it make sense. I'm trying. I understand the tradition thing, so I apologize to the rubber boot. Yeah, the rubber
Yeah, we're
boot
not.
arm.
Yeah, no hate. Yeah, I think it is mostly tradition, and I have heard from a few people that listen to our podcast and did the switch. They said they think they can feel the ground better in a rubber boot. That's one thing I've heard when it comes to like stepping over logs, crossing stuff. They think they have like better ground contact, like feeling what's below them compared to a lace up. I mean, because lace up boots, a lot of them, I mean, some of them have a softer sole, but a lot of them have like a Vibram sole that's pretty hard. So I understand that argument there.
I can see that. That makes sense.
I feel like I think maybe the rubber boots I have aren't super tight fitting on my feet. I feel like I'm clunkier walking around when I wear them.
Oh God, I mean,
feel
that's
like
not even a.
I feel like I'm louder. Even if I pull my pants down over the top of them, I still.
No. Well, it's bigger. It's a bigger profile. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to slip through the woods and put your foot in a particular spot and avoid something, or get on a rock or a log or cross it, like you just have less. You have to make a bigger space to put that. I mean, if you look at just the footprint, most of these. And the other thing I go back to is like, how often do you see like backpackers or like extreme like mountain guys like in Alaska, or like mountain climbers? No, I'm not talking guys that are with crampons and like ropes, but like guys that hike up. When are they? None of them wear rubber boots. Like, that's what I always look at. Not a single one of them are like,
It's true.
oh, gotta put my rubbers on. I'm gonna go climb, this big mountain or backpack through, the White Mountains or the Appalachian Trail. Like, oh, let me put my rubbers on. So anyway, that's kind of a good. I don't know. I don't want to.
We're gonna get some hate now. We're gonna get some hate.
I know, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to help.
Yeah,
all right, I'm just
think
trying to
it's mostly
help.
tradition.
Like, if you want to put your rubber boots on and have wet, smelly feet and slip around, dude, go for it. I don't care.
I'm with you guys there, and like I said, I think it's starting to transition over. Once more people try them, more people talk about them. like the energy you use way more energy, I feel like, in a rubber boot going up a
Yes.
hill than you do in a lace
Yes.
up, because your heel's coming up, you're sliding around in them. So I mean, by the end of the day, your legs don't hurt as much. But I can't really think of a con. I mean, like I said, the only thing I've heard is you can't feel the ground as good in those. For me, I guess I never really noticed that. I feel like once I bring my boots in, I can feel
When
everything
you
I'm
break
stepping
them
on.
in, I think it's pretty comparable. I can see what they
Hmm.
mean if they're a little bit stiff. But I mean, I,
All I can say is give them a shot. People listen, give them a shot.
yeah, I
Try a lace
would.
up boot, see what you think, especially if you're going to be putting some miles on this season. Get them, get a pair by end of summer so you can get them broken in a little bit, do some scouting in them, move
Yeah.
around in them before the season gets here.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to get your take on that because
That was a good tangent.
I'm
I'm
still,
always happy to talk about
I'm
that.
still struggling. I haven't had a good. Every argument that I've heard for them, I'm like, but that's the opposite of what rubber boots do. They're like, oh, they have great. I tape up the ankles and they have great ankle support. It's like, well, so you have to tape the ankles to get ankle supports. They don't have ankles. It's just, yeah. It's like I said. I think a lot of it's. Hey, if they work for you, great. But anyway, rubber
Yeah.
boots. We'll get
Yep.
off that topic and get more to the so the other stuff. So what were some? Can you highlight some of? And wool, I think, is a different story because I think wool is really good. I don't have any knocks. Well, I mean, there are some knocks on wool in general. I'd say probably the two that come to mind. I feel like wool is great for it's the most versatile material, I would say, across everything. Like it does a lot of things really well. In my mind, if you're in extremely wet conditions, it's good because it's warm or wet, but it doesn't keep the water off you, right? And it gets heavy, which may or may not be a problem. If you're sitting, that can be a problem. If you're moving and you're making your own body heat, it's less of a problem. And then I guess the other thing is it is a good insulator, but there may be better ones out there, I guess. If you are, so I guess what I'm saying, sitting for a lot of stuff that we do during November, it may not be the best thing, but I think it's good. Like merino layers, or base layers are good, or wool layers are good, but it may not be every layer being wool may not be the best option. But for the wool garment, what do you think is kind of the most, I'll say innovative, not to use a dramatic word, but innovative part of your stuff, the most innovative spin you've put on the traditional wool, would you say, in your stuff? Out of give me a top three things or
For our
garments.
outerwear stuff, I would say, the layout, we kind of changed the layout up pretty good. I feel like a lot of the old wool was heavy, kind of boxy, cumbersome.
Yep.
We kind of lightened it up a little bit, changed the fit of it a little bit, made a better layout, more accessible pockets for stuff you're going to be doing on the fly. If you're tracking a buck, whether it be, the ammo pouch or,
Yep.
A built-in rear game pouch. So you don't have to wear a fanny pack if you don't want to. But kind of just, most of it was just, lighten it up a little bit and making it move more like a technical jacket that you get nowadays. And kind of going back to what you're saying, I feel like in the Northeast, wool is a lot with tradition, but it's not the best for every situation. It's a fact, like you're saying, for sitting. I mean, if you want to wear a heavy wool coat, you can do that. But I mean, with some of the modern synthetic materials you have now, you don't really have to.
Yeah.
You can get away with some lighter stuff. But I found for as far as moving and tracking bucks, I mean, in the Northeast, I feel like it still is the best because it breathes, it moves with you.
Yeah.
And it will keep you warm when you're wet. So I mean, if you're hustling and you're getting after it on a rainy day, you're still going to be warm versus some of the lighter weight synthetic stuff. It might be a little noisier, not going to keep you warm when you're wet. So there's a place for everything.
I rather wear for sure wool if it's wet snow or it's rain or whatever, any wet situation, rather than a waterproof anything, because that shell. You get so hot too, and it's the rubber boot thing all over again with just keeping everything in. It doesn't breathe, and it's if you can tolerate being wet, you're going to be warm while you're moving, and that's kind of the important thing. If you're going to go and haul through the mountains for 4 hours and then you're going to sit for 5 hours, okay, well that's a different. But you're going to have a whole different issue when you sit down, and like I said, you're going to sweat, and then it's almost all about moisture management, right? That's the biggest thing with all of this to an extent is managing the moisture that your body produces if you're working hard, and then trying to keep moisture from the environment out. And then, so it's all about trying to manage that, I think. And wool does that well because it just takes the water and it still works, to an extent, which a lot of stuff either just sheds water, but then when you shed water from the outside or you block water from the outside, now you have it contained inside from your perspiration. And so it's like it becomes an issue. So I don't know if there's like a perfect material out there. I don't think so.
I think, it's adaptable. It's something for every situation. Like with the wool, in a light drizzle, wool has its own like DWR, if you will, the lanolin on it. That'll keep you dry in a light drizzle. But if you're out in the heavy rain, it's going to soak it up slowly. It's just part of it. It's going to get heavier. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Do you have any new things that you've come out with recently that you want to talk about, or kind of maybe a direction of where? I'm not asking you to divulge more than you want to, but
besides the gators that you're going to come out with,
the
Stagr Gators.
We've been kind of doing a few things. We do packs and stuff too. Gloves, obviously. We do capes. We've kind of branched into some synthetics, doing some fleece garments and stuff like that. Just kind of filling the voids.
Aren't they?
What's that?
The capes are fleece, right?
The capes are polar fleece, and we have a hunt fleece jacket, and probably by the time this podcast come out, we're dropping a hunt fleece vest, so that'll be out there by then. But we got some packs coming out this summer, a couple new types of wool jackets as well. This year we're not doing as many new products as we had the last couple of years. We've kind of spent more money doing improvements to existing products and investing back in there, so we're not dropping as many. But really excited for what's coming. We got some sweet new packs coming out, which probably, if I'm being honest, I like designing packs the most, more than garments. I just have a good time. Yeah, I don't know, something about it. I've always been like a gear guy, so sitting down, kind of tweaking a backpack or tweaking a fanny pack or something like that. I've always enjoyed that. So we've got a really, really nice bag coming out here soon that we'll have more out.
Can you talk about it yet or not yet? Do you want to wait?
Not quite yet.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna ask because I'm curious, and if you say no, not yet, that's fine. Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what that looks like. That'll be cool.
I'd say that you guys are pretty similar in that way. Brett's like wants everything to be like just right, the way he likes it type of guy. I'm more of like the figure it out with what I've got and make it work type of person. I don't know. Which definitely has its downsides for sure. But
little stuff that's off drives me crazy.
You're a technical guy.
Yeah, I think it's just details. Just details that I'm like
tinkerer.
They drive me crazy, and that's why, like I said, I got the bow shop down here because I'm always tinkering with stuff and want things just right. And if it isn't, it really bothers me. I can't get over it. But I'll tell you that when I get it right and I get it how I want it, I just feel so good and confident. Like I'm ready to go and like I feel good.
I brought you back your adhesive, by the way.
Thank you.
You can build your arrows now.
Yeah, that'll be for the bow. But yeah, thank you. Do you have socks?
No, right. We don't have socks. No.
Okay.
We just kind of flirted around with the idea of it, but we haven't. It's just the last couple of years I switched over to alpaca. That's one big thing I found with socks. Better moisture management there.
What's
compared to the merino?
What is the I got those hollow socks. Were we talking about those?
Yeah, that's what.
Are those alpaca? I think.
Yeah, those are alpaca.
What is the difference? So what's the main differences between alpaca and wool?
It's still a wool. Pretty much everything that I've researched on, it seems like alpaca has better moisture management, better warmth to weight.
So it wicks better then? Is that accurate?
It wicks better, yeah. So it takes the moisture off your foot and pushes it out faster than merino wool. I'm not sure how much faster, but I definitely noticed it, especially when you're wearing rubber boots. You're still going to get, especially with rubber boots more than wool. Guys. If I'm wearing a merino sock and a rubber boot, then I'm sweating out pretty quick. With the alpaca, I've got a little bit longer. It seems like it keeps my foot comfortable. And I use it's a cheap brand. It's called Pacas is what I've been wearing.
Okay.
And I've talked about that on other podcasts before, but just a cheap alpaca wool sock, and it seems to work a lot better than, a merino nylon sock.
How do they compare durability-wise, do you think?
I guess it all depends. If you're wearing straight wool, no matter what it is, it's going to wear out. It's knitted wool isn't necessarily the most durable. It all comes down to the blend of how much nylon you're putting into it or polyester or whatever it is you're going to put in with the sock. if you have, I've kind of talked about this before because a few people are like, why don't you guys make an all wool pack? Like, oh, why don't you make a wool backpack? What I've noticed is if you're making something straight out of wool, it's like building a concrete wall without rebar in it.
Yep.
Essentially, you don't get the durability, you don't get the structure. It kind of, it stretches out. It doesn't
Yep.
come back. So you have to have that nylon in it to give it some life. So yeah, as far as socks go, it all comes down to how much nylon versus how much wool you have in the sock.
Okay,
I mean, the
yeah.
more nylon you have, the more durable it's going to be. Less moisture management you're probably going to get out of it.
And maybe it's just those hollow socks that I wore, but the one other thing I noticed about them, they seem fine. I don't know that I can say I wore them like enough to like really give a fair assessment on. I think I only wore them like the second half of the season, maybe. The one thing I noticed, and maybe it's just the ones, it seems like there's way more fibers that you're losing. Like they're like a hairball, I guess.
Fuzzing
is the best
out.
way to describe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's brand to brand too. Part
Okay.
of it. I mean, I've had the socks you're talking about, and after one use and one wash, they were fuzzed out. Looked like you're wearing some crazy sock you bought at a freaking novelty store or something.
Okay.
It all comes down to the brand, I think.
So all alpaca is not like that.
No.
Okay.
No. Like I said, it all comes down to structure, how they're made, how they're knitted,
Okay.
and what's in there with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, that'll be, maybe I need to explore
Because
that a little better.
I've used some other brands too, and yeah, if they're cheaply made, you're going to get some crazy fuzz out. And then I think when that happens, you're losing your fibers, you're losing your moisture management, all that stuff.
Well, you got to be, I mean, you're losing material is what's happening. It's like shedding, like a, like the animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the animal it grew on.
Yeah. I wore those hollow ones for, I mean, probably every day. It was below 40 probably for the season. That we weren't walking super far.
And one pair, or do you have a few?
Yeah, I had one pair. I'd rotate them like every other day usually. But they definitely did do some of that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where they were
I just
starting to come
noticed
apart
it right
a little
away.
bit, but like no holes or wear spots or anything like that I
Yeah.
noticed. I definitely noticed that they kept my foot drier for longer.
To me, they seemed bulkier, but they were like lighter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's more
More
air in
loft to them.
almost.
Yeah, like airier.
And I think that's part of why they say they're warmer too. I mean, when it comes to warmth, capturing heat, it all comes down to how your fibers are set up and holding, little tiny air pockets in the fibers. That's how it comes down to.
Yeah, I think, from an insulation standpoint, I don't know that many people know. Well, I was talking to somebody. Forget who it was. One of our guys. We always have funny stuff with gear and camera. New guys. There's just always something. I don't know if there's anything with you, Matt, that I can remember off the top of my head, but I forget who it was. But they were sitting, and it's like long hours, and they get cold feet, and they have like 7 pairs of socks on, and there is literally like they're stuffing their foot into their boot, and it's like, and I'm like, dude, that's gonna make your foot colder. Like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, you need air. Like the air pocket heats, and that's what keeps your foot warm. It's not like, I mean, obviously the material does too, but you need to have air in there. That's like, you can't have like super tight fitting clothing in layers and expect to stay warm. It's just not going to happen. Like, you're better off with like a looser fit and a good insulating layer than like 3, mid layers that are tight. Like, it's not going to work. And I think people don't think that,
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really know how thermodynamics work as far as it comes to insulation. A lot of people don't understand that it's air pockets that keep you warm. It's not the actual garment itself.
Right.
I mean, if you have something on that's tight without any space for air in there, you're just going to lose your heat through what is that, convection or whatever it's called. I don't know the science word for it.
Basically, you're trying to trap your body heat in the form of air, in air pockets or layers of air, essentially. So, if you're tight, you can't do that. There is no air pocket or air. I don't know what they call it, in this particular application, but it's not there. So you're gonna get cold. And that was the funniest thing. I was like, take like 7 of those pairs of socks off and keep like 1 or maybe 2 on, and you'll probably be way better off.
Yeah, you're cutting your circulation off at that point too. I've seen some crazy shit. I mean, I remember being a kid and getting ready to go hunting with my grandpa, and he'd put 4, 5, 6 pairs on of socks. I'm like, holy shit, how can you even walk like that? But yeah.
Has Chris, before Chris lost a bunch of weight, did he wear a bunch of clothes? Because
What did Chris do? He
wears a lot of layers now. Like he always is
he
overdressed, I feel like.
Yeah, he wears 17 layers.
wearing-
His fit him though, so I think he stays pretty good. But what did he do? Oh, he was always cold, and this is what it'd do. He'd put cotton socks on and then wool socks over them. So cotton on the skin. He'd have like a cotton T-shirt.
Okay.
And it's like his first layer on the skin was cotton, and he's like, "I'm so cold." I'm like, "Well, what do you?" And he's showing me like, "You have." In cotton underwear, like it was just like cotton on his skin, like the whole way, and then like all like Chris, yeah, no wonder you're cold. You have you're perspirating, and you have a wet layer that's not going to wick moisture. It's against your skin, and you're done. Like,
yeah, cotton's not drying out on you. I feel like that's honestly probably one of the biggest things with gear over the last 10 to 15 years is more and more guys switching over to like merino base layers or alpaca base layers or, some type of polyester.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as a kid, I remember I was wearing cotton long johns, the little waffle ones.
Oh, yeah.
Waffly shaped ones back in the day. I used to wear those. But the difference between like a merino base layer and a cotton so much nicer wearing a merino.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The other thing I was, and I don't deal with as much as you, but I've been like, messing around with is particularly just if you're tracking or walking or whatever, it doesn't matter. And honestly, do your feet get cold when you hike?
Like wall hiking or after I
wall
stop?
hiking?
No.
Okay. I don't know that many people's do. I don't think that's really a thing unless I'm mistaken. But
for an example, I was up in Northeast Kingdom in Vermont tracking with my brother. What was this, two winters ago? It was later in the season. It was December, and it was cold. We had gotten like a foot of fresh snow. It was light, powdery snow. Everything was flat, looked the same. We walked the snowmobile trail in like a mile from the truck, and then I was going to go up through the first set of cuts on this mountain, and he was going to go to the next one. We were going to meet in the middle. Well, I had just said bye to him. I'm walking like 75 yards away from him.
Were you wearing rubber boots?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wearing
just
sorry. That was like the key point of the story. I was wearing lacrosses and walking down this log road into the cut, and it's all sprucey or whatever. And I go to take another step, and all of a sudden I'm up to my hip in water. It was a skidder rut.
Oh.
It was a skidder rut that was like 3 feet deep, and it was just nice. It was probably a puddle that had frozen and then snowed over, and I just went right through, and gun hand went down. I went like up to here in the water. I was able, put one hand down. I was able to keep the gun out of the water, thankfully. But so I was soaked like up to my hips, wearing heavy wool pants.
Did water go in your boots?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it was one of those ones.
Yeah, I had to dump them out. And my brother came over and laughed at me for a little bit. And he's like, "Well, are you gonna go walk back to the truck?" And I was like, "Well, no, because we're an hour from home, and then we just walked."
Yeah. But did you just keep going?
It was like 5 degrees, and I was like, "I'm just gonna keep moving going. And not stop, and I'm just gonna keep my body temperature up the whole time." And so that's what I did. I got a little cold off the bat just because I was literally soaked to the bone, and like everything was just covered in ice. My pants were like 30 pounds and clacking against everything because they're all iced up. But no, I mean, I was able to keep moving enough, even being absolutely soaking wet, that I was okay.
Yeah, I think Brad, Adam, I'm sure you'd agree that like the warmth or the insulation is like far easier to figure out if you're going to be moving. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like you don't want much insulation.
Yeah, I'd rather honestly get cold than hot, especially if I know I'm going to be out hiking around all day, tracking and stuff. I'd rather be cold than hot. I'll go light. Yeah. I'll just wear a freaking base layer most of the. If it's like a 40-degree day and it's dry, I'll just wear a base layer flying around. I mean, I move fast through the woods, so I stay warm, and I naturally stay warm for the most part. But yeah, the last thing you want to do is be cooking hot supper out there and have freaking layer on layer wrapped around your waist, wrapped around your bag, whatever it is. It's just I go light more than anything.
It's just miserable. And another story like yours, Ross and I were in the Adirondacks a few years back, and we were deep, like 5 miles back, and he fell. We were crossing a beaver dam, and he fell in. Like, he fell in. Like, stripped down, dumping out boots, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he just got the water out of his boots and wring out actually, he had another pair of socks, so that was good, in his pack. He put those on and just kept going.
Do you remember how cold it was that day?
It was freaking cold. Yeah, it was cold. It was well below freezing. And we did, actually, that day, I think it was like one of the like highest mileage totals I've ever done, like tracking, and I think we did like 15 or 16 miles that day, and that was probably mile 5 or 6. So he kept going the whole day, and we didn't kill him, but we tracked down a buck.
Was that with rubbers on?
No,
no,
neither of us had rubbers.
Is that Adirondack video you guys had a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember that, watching that one. You guys caught him in some like hardwoods or something like that. You couldn't get a shot off at it. Yeah, I remember watching that video. That was a good video.
Oh, that one haunts me, and I was a camera guy.
You were talking about that.
I was.
The other
it was
day.
Just sick. Oh, that was so sickening. We had crossed his track like a mile from the truck, like, you know, like right after first light, but it wasn't fresh and it wasn't that big. Of course, a lot of those Adirondack bucks don't have big feet, so whatever. And we're kind of like him and hot. It's not that fresh. It had snow in it, and it had like kind of just stopped snowing, but it was like kind of snowed in pretty good. And so anyway, we did this huge loop, and we really didn't cut anything good all day. And then it's like 2:00. We're getting back to the truck, and or not to the truck, but closer to the truck, because we literally went straight in 8 miles that day, and then turned around and did 8 miles back out. And like I said, it was mile like 13 or 14 when we finally, or maybe even 15. When we didn't really track him for very long, honestly. He wasn't very far from his old track, but he had crossed this trail, or I don't even know what it was, hiking trail maybe, something like that. But it was like just straight line way into this just giant piece. Anyway, we're coming back out, and we're like, well, whatever. It's like the best track we've seen. It's old, but let's just haul on it and see what happens. So we were hauling, like almost running on it, because it was like 2:30, and we got like an hour or two left to mess with it. And he went up this ridge, and he was like going up with this benchy stuff, and we saw a bunch of feeding sign, but it had snow. That was snowed in too, but we were seeing antler marks, like beams. So I'm like, okay, it's a pretty good buck, but it's old. It's from like last night. Like, at this point it's at least probably 12 hours old. You know what I mean? Maybe more. Mm-hmm. And we get up in this spot, and we are just freaking hauling. Ross had my rifle, and he had it on a sling on his shoulder, and I like didn't have anything ready with the camera. Like, it wasn't ready. Like, it was just dumb. I think I had it like slung over my shoulder, like kind of behind me. And our goal was just to try to freshen him up, like Hail Mary, just like go as fast as we can on him. And there's a bunch of feeding sign, but it was all old. So we're just like bombing through the middle of it. And we get up with this one like more bench, and now it's like open. Was that oak or was it beech? I think it was oak, I think. I'm trying to remember. It might have been beech. It was oak or beech. I can't remember which one he was in. Was there oak there? It's probably beech. It was beech.
I don't think it matters, Brett.
It matters to me. The details. No, I think it was beech, because that's where we find a lot of the sign. It was like something just like these like individual beech trees that had produced that year. That's like the only thing I think there was, or at least hard mass that was left. Anyway, we're going through, and there's like these spotty spruce in this beech hardwood, right? It wasn't like really green and thick, but there was like little just pockets of a tree here and there. And we're just like bombing through, and it's pretty open. And Ross and I, both at the same time, all of a sudden look up like 25 yards ahead. And that old sign that was snowed in was like fresh. And we both locked up. And the second we locked up, this buck jumps out from behind this spruce. It was just like if we had seen that sign 3 seconds earlier, mm-hmm. and that deer just like at 25 yards, just like slowly like bounds across like broadside, like nothing between us for air. And we're like, and he's trying to like, and I'm like trying to get the camera on him, and he just got. It was like most painful thing, because if we were ready, I mean, you could have shot at him 3 times and inside of 30 yards because he was running, just left to right. It was just like the easiest shot, like sickening. It was a beautiful deer, probably like 130 plus Adirondack buck, like just a really nice.
They got some nice bucks out there.
Yeah,
we're gonna go do some Adirondack hunting this year for the first time. I've only done some scouting over there, but maybe this year we're going out there and doing some hunting in the early season. I'm looking forward to it. They got some nice bucks over there.
They do.
Go ahead.
Well, the thing that I liked most about the Adirondacks is I can't believe until you go out there, like it is so big. It's so not everywhere, but like there's some huge woods that you can. That I don't think it may. Some of these areas, like I bet it goes years without seeing people, like hunters, which is kind of cool to like think about. I mean, I had one spot that I kind of I don't know if I ever hunted it. I don't think I ended up hunting. Oh no, I still hunted it a couple times. I never really sat there though. I tracked actually with Zach Farrenbrough one day from the hunting public, and then John went in there and tracked. Anyway, it's a really good spot, and I just haven't really got back. But it was deep, man. It was like 3 miles from the truck to this one saddle, and I realized like, dude, when you get over 2 miles, like approaching 3, and you're gonna try to like sit. That becomes a problem. Like it becomes kind of an issue where it's like, I don't know if I can do this back to back days, right? So I had the idea of just doing a spike camp up there, maybe 500 yards from the saddle I wanted to hunt and spending 3 or 4 days, but never ended up doing it.
Was that accessed at all by like a hiking trail, or were you?
Yeah. A lot, like half of it, but then the other half was like
off,
side.
Yeah,
it was rugged up there. It was like really rugged country. And the higher up you got, the more rugged it got. But it was just a killer spot. I ran a camera up there, and actually it was like a couple of years ago. I didn't have one last year up there, but I had one a couple of years ago, and must have been 22. It was. I just was like sick all November, like just sick. Like the whole I couldn't kick it. And I remember it was like right around Thanksgiving time frame, and I'm just like sitting in the house. And it was a cell camera, and there's like all these bucks filing through the saddle. And I was like, I just don't even have it in me to go up there right now. Like, not like right now, but like go up and hunt it. Like, but it was smoking hot. So anyway, yeah, Adirondacks, I think, has some awesome stuff if you get, especially like if you just want to get away from people and go super deep, like it's endless and rugged.
A lot of those like, pretty well-known Adirondack guys, they all do the spike camps. They all go out there and they'll live out there for the whole season, some of them.
Makes sense, because some of that stuff you aren't doing day trips. Like you can do it for a day or two, but like it's too deep. It really is. Like it's way in there, and then it's
definitely got to be the biggest big woods for the Northeast, I'd say, right?
There's no doubt. I mean, that piece I know there's bigger ones too, but just the piece that we were in where Ross fell in, it was 16 miles between roads. Like 16
that's a
miles.
lot of land right there.
16 miles. That's west stuff. That's like big, western type big woods. And we straight lined it 8 miles right in the middle of it. And it was like, and we walked like almost, all morning, just like. Whew.
Did you follow the same track back, or did you make a loop when you did that?
We followed the track back because the country we were in, there was a lot of like water. And if we had like in general, more or less, we weren't like right on the same boot prints. We did some like swings and stuff, but like if we had swung too far in one direction or the other off our track, we would have got like behind water and like lakes that would have put us like, it's going to take us 20 miles to get back to the truck, like that type of thing. So we were kind of a little bit limited. And honestly, some of that stuff up there that I've seen, like I don't even know that you want to cut a track in some of that country. Like some of those swamps are so huge and nasty, like thick that, like if a buck went in there, I don't even know. They're almost so big that you can't even circle them and like try to get them coming out. Like there's just some spots that I just don't think are very conducive to catching up with one.
Just like a big monotonous,
type
thing.
Like
you're saying?
500 acres of or 1,000 acres of like swamp that's like you can't even Like, there's no way, like, a deer's going to hear you coming from forever away, even on the quietest day, like windy day, and then you're going to have to be 7 yards away to shoot them. Like, it's just like, I don't see how you're going to make it happen here.
That's some terrible stuff when you're hunting in that thick stuff.
Yeah, and it's wet too. It's not like it's not like a thick like fir forest where you like actually have good footing. You're like going down and like you know what I mean? It's not like it's like, well, it's thick, you can sneak around, but it's not. It's like it's really tough to do it. And I've actually heard a couple of those guys talk about that too. Like they don't like to go in the bottoms like after those deer because they get in those swamps, and it's like, I mean, it's rough. So we had a lot of that on the side. So we were trying to like not go. I remember we took one smaller track like at one point into that and started into it. I'm like,
not worth it.
Nah, dude. Like, just it was just like, this ain't happening enough. And it was like a little track. We're like, no, we're not. This is not happening.
I'm looking forward to it this year. Looking forward to getting out there just to see it. I mean, chances are we're probably not going to run into many deer, but just looking forward to getting out there and put
what
some
I've
boots on the
found
ground.
is like you may go a long, long ways without finding them, but when you find them, it seems like there's like really like these higher density pockets of them.
Just pockets.
Yeah. And but the other thing I found is they seem to like, well, all of them do, but these pockets seem to shift in a big way. Like they may be on one mountain for like 3 or 4 days, and they just like kind of roam around. Like a few of the spots we went back to, maybe 3 weekends in a row. It was at least 2 weekends in a row, and like all the stuff that Ross and I found, like where the deer are at, Zach and I went back into the same stuff the next week, and it was like there was no sign.
Nothing at all.
Like they had
just
moved,
cleaned out all the food and then moved on.
Yeah. So I think that's what it is. But if you find that pocket, I mean, we were in like a lot of deer. It seemed like when you find them. But yeah, it's cool. It's really neat. There's some big antlers too.
Oh yeah, they got some wicked bucks over there.
Yeah, some
bucks.
big antlers.
Good genetics for sure.
Body wise, maybe not so much. I think there's some, but I mean,
say every once in a while you'll see somebody shoot a 200-pounder over there. That'll throw them on a scale. But yeah.
I think it'd be tough to get some of those bucks. I feel like you'd have to like just quarter them.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of those deer are probably getting packed
some
out.
guys do. Yeah.
Like I don't think you're getting a weight. So
I mean, unless they're getting canoed out from if they're close to water somewhere.
Or boated out or whatever.
You know what I heard? I heard I forget who I was talking about it, but they said guys used to get dropped off by float planes in there.
Oh yeah,
I
heard that.
Isaac was saying that, right?
Yeah,
but
like the 80K Cowboys guys there, like Eric Boak and Hunter Bob and all those guys.
They've done that.
Hunter, he's a pilot. Oh yeah, they'll fly deer out and everything. They'll shoot one, they'll fly one out.
I heard.
They can.
Was somebody telling us it was illegal though now to do it?
I thought it was.
I thought I heard that it's illegal to do that.
Oh, is it?
Now.
Maybe it's
I have
wide
no
body
idea,
water or something.
I thought it was when we had Isaac on that he was talking about that.
He might have been. I thought that was a really cool idea. I just didn't like the fact that, like, what if you get dropped in some lake and it's like, it's not going down there. It's like, oh, shit. Like, hey, come pick me up. He's like, yeah, I'll pick you up in a week. Have fun, bud.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What else? Man. Oh, we also cut this giant set of bear tracks way back in, too. And it was bear season. Like, it was in, and Ross had a tag, and we were kind of just like looking at each other like, yeah, I don't think we feel like getting a bear out of here. I mean, it was way in. Like,
yeah,
it was super deep. But
yeah. Those things suck to take care of too. Taking care of a bear, getting the fucking
brutal. They're so brutal. They're like, you can't even move them. Like, you can't even like move it.
It's a bag of mush rolling around.
Oh, it's just
that. Your bear that you shot when I was with you, we had to move that thing like
60 yards, 50 yards probably, right?
Yeah, it was just like
50 yards. That's just all we had to drag. We could get a truck almost to him.
Yeah, there was like a boulder field, and it was slightly uphill, and we're both just like
it was
trying to wrap a rope around the things, like, and it's slipping.
Well, it's like it's 50 yards, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to go crazy. Like, let's just grab this thing and bring it up, like, you know. And then it's like, it wasn't that big of a bear. It was like 100.
It was like 180
pound bear, something like that.
Would have been
holy crap.
We would have been better off just throwing it on one of our shoulders and carrying the thing.
Yeah, but then it's gonna like it's so bad. Well, that one right there was brute. We had like a jet sled and like winch and
what did that thing
all
weigh?
stuff. That was 250. Yeah, it was a lot. Did you shoot a big bear like last year or the year before?
No, I didn't. I'm trying to think who Northeast guy. Travis Williams shot a giant one last year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he shot a giant one. That was pretty cool. He got all that on footage and everything.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I knew someone.
Seems like every year there's a couple guys just like you'll be out deer hunting.
Yeah.
And you'll see on Facebook they shoot an absolute giant one.
Yeah.
One that walks in front of you and you're like, oh God, I don't want to take care of that thing, but damn, that's a huge bear.
Oh, I had
shoot
one.
That thing.
I was after this buck way up on this mountain a few years back, and like it was like late October or something, and I was bow hunting, and like I hear something coming, and I'm like hoping it's the buck, and of course it's a bear, and it was like it was a big bear. I don't know, 250, 300 maybe big or whatever. And he's coming in, and I'm like, look, oh my God, I really do not want to get him off this mountain. And he stepped into my lane at 30, and I was like, I don't know, maybe if he comes into 15 and stands here, I'll shoot him. But I was like, yeah, they're rough to get out. They're really rough.
Yeah, that's always my thought process too during rifle season. I see a bear, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this thing, but they get closer, and you'll see a big old head. You're like, oh God.
I really like eating them.
Do you?
I do. I never really ate many of them before, so I just was like had it in my mind I didn't want to eat a bear. Like I guess I'd had it before, but like it was always ground up in something, and I don't know, just like in a chili, which it's like I feel like you could ground up.
Yeah, anything ground up.
Raccoon or like like a horse.
Season it enough, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Be like, yeah, it's great. Like so, I didn't know, but like yeah, no, I really like it. And most of it we do grind up, but I mean even just like burger, I think it's great. It stays better a little better than deer. Just a little more fat content. Obviously you have to cook it a little better, a little more done. But yeah, I like it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, so do you guys have a ton of bears right now down southern New Hampshire way? We got I'd say almost a problem in Vermont up here, at least my way.
Yeah,
we got so many bears running around. They're in everybody's dumpster. They're in everybody's yard, ripping off bird feeders and tipping over. It's like, Jesus, I feel like we could get away with like a lottery or something for like a spring season. You know what I mean? It seems like we have a lot of bears up here, a lot more than we used to.
Yeah, I think that's kind of everywhere. Sure, as I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can't bait probably has something.
That's true.
Something big to do with it.
Yeah.
The difference between Vermont and New Hampshire, because I mean, I bet even if they gave 2 tags, it probably wouldn't. I don't know. It seems there's just a lot. Like I remember driving around turkey hunting last spring up north, and
oh God, yeah.
Within like a mile loop, I saw 5 adult bears out in fields just eating grass, just sitting there. I'm like,
I mean, this time of year, you definitely see them in the hay fields pretty heavy, like from like mid-April to June. I think when the mass starts kicking in a little more, and some of that like browse starts ripening up, they probably get more focus. Of course, like in Vermont and some like on the river valleys, like if you have corn, the dairy farmers
wreak havoc on those fields,
destroyed by bears. Anywhere around here, whether you're in Maine or New Hampshire, or Vermont or whatnot, even Mass. I mean, not that we have that much corn, right? But like, if there is any of it, it's
they'll take out a
corner
of a field.
Oh, yeah, they're
some of these little.
I wish we could do a little baiting season in Vermont. I mean, we get the bears for it, and I think it would bring the kill rates up a lot more if we had it in Vermont. Because I feel like a lot of the bears that get shot in Vermont are ones that get shot during deer season.
Right.
People out messing around. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of guys that go out. September 1st. Obviously there's a handful of guys that are always out there for opening a bear, but it seems like most of them get shot during deer season when people are just out in the woods.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. We don't even kill that many bears in New Hampshire.
I have no idea what the numbers are.
I think it's like, I hate to say, I feel like it's less than 1,000.
Really?
I think. I don't know. I'm going to look it up because I hate to spread misinformation or fake news. I was close. 1191.
Okay, so really not that many then.
No. And I guess it looks like, okay, so that's the most we've ever killed was last fall.
1191.
Yep, 1191. And that may be because there was a second tag in some units.
In the White Mountains.
Yep. Then
they give you a second tag.
And then also they expanded some of the seasons as well.
Did they?
Made them longer. Yep. In some units. So it's pretty well broken up. It's not like homogeneous to the whole state. So 1191. The previous record in 2020 was 1183. So yeah, we're just north of 1,000 bears every year, which is not a lot.
that many.
I don't know what Vermont is, but Man, I would say that if we didn't bait, we'd maybe kill 500. You know.
Yeah.
Um, does
So you guys have like a
Vermont?
limited baiting window, right? For bear.
Yeah, it's like most of September and then into like the first part of October. It depends where you're
Yeah,
at.
I
Some
think
some units, I think, in late September. What was it? Yeah, late September, and then some go into like the first, I think, couple weeks of October.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it seems like it's the same thing with deer. It's a lot. I think it's different, but the baiting thing is weird because when you've had it forever, it just seems like a normal thing that you do. But like places that don't have it, it's like, oh, we can't bait animals and shit. It's like it's very interesting how
Mhm.
the I guess public perception is on that.
September 1st to the 28th in most units, and then it was October 5th. So
Okay,
you get an
yeah,
extra week
yeah.
there.
How is yours? Is Vermont season through gun, like through rifle season? Like, can you shoot
Pretty
them
sure it
all
goes
the way?
all the way through rifle season for deer.
Yeah, it's
We kill almost
underutilized.
double the deer than you guys do in Vermont. Like we kill
Oh,
almost double
Do
New
you?
Hampshire. Is it that much? I can't remember. I mean, we just have. I feel like we have more hunters over here than you guys do over that way. So that's probably
sorry.
part
No,
of it.
I usually don't even think about bears. Or do you see many bears when you're hunting in November? I don't really see many.
I see quite a bit up in, if I'm hunting some big pieces in the state forest, especially you get into some beach
Do
shot
you?
areas. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like most of
Yeah.
Vermont most of the public lands in the bigger woods is all beach. It seems
Yeah.
like beach and maple. So you get in an area that's got a bunch of beech nuts. Like I've had days where I've seen 3 or 4 out in the woods,
Have you?
tracking where if there's
In
a
the
heavy
snow?
beach here, they'll still be out late, even
No
with
shit.
snow. They'll be out
Yeah.
pollen on a
I
hillside
haven't-
somewhere.
I definitely have seen them, but I just don't feel like I maybe see. I see a ton of them bow hunting in September and October.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
ton of more than deer, honestly, more than deer. But it
Yeah.
seems like in November I just don't see as many. Like I maybe see like one a year in November. So
Mhm.
yeah, you don't kill that many more. You killed 17,000 deer in 24. I think we
What'd
killed
you guys kill?
I think like 14. Let's see.
Okay. So it's
Ish,
not that
like
far
right
off
in
then.
that ballpark, maybe 12. So that's not too bad. I also I know that it's different. Yeah, we killed 12, 27, so super close, or
Yeah.
in the ballpark. I also it's
Mhm.
always amazing how different Vermont and New Hampshire is.
I was gonna ask, do you ever kill the deer in Vermont? You ever do any
No.
Vermont deer hunting? No.
No, no,
No.
I haven't. I am okay.
Let's get into it. Come on,
I'm
let's go. Let's have a
trying
talk.
to find a good reason to do it, other than to kill a deer and say it's in Vermont.
Yeah.
Because I unfortunately feel like you can find very similar, if not the same, landscapes, the same, if not better, deer densities, and maybe this is changing a little bit lately, but for sure bigger deer. So it's like I can go hunt this awesome, and I love Vermont's beautiful. It's like awesome. Like I drive through Vermont and we turkey hunt it. I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, it's beautiful, and like there's some legit giant mountains and big woods there and all that stuff. But I'm like, there's other states really close where I can have the same thing, but I'm like, do I chase 115-inch deer or 150-inch deer? I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Yeah.
That's my
I
whole
hear you
thing.
there.
Like, I mean, if there was, I think if I, and I think there's starting to be some better deer in Vermont from what I can gather.
Definitely some better racks and,
Yeah.
and bigger bodies coming up,
Yeah.
especially more southern. It seems like
Yeah. Like,
right there on that New Hampshire border. Was that? I think it's Windsor County
Windsor
or Windham
County,
or
yeah.
something down that way. It seems like a lot of nice racks. I don't know if they're swimming across the river and coming over here or what, but I understand your point of view there. I think, if I wasn't from Vermont and didn't grow up hunting here, and if I was from another state, I'd probably kind of have the same thought process on it. But
Yeah.
I'm just because I'm a Vermonter, I'm drawn back to it every year. I try to. I mean, if I can fill my Vermont tag and then get out of here and go to Maine or go over to New Hampshire,
Yeah.
I'd enjoy doing that. But
Yeah,
I don't know, something about Vermont for me.
It'd be,
yeah. It's just
if
that.
I found a big one in Vermont, I'd sure. It's just for me, it's like not so much about what state I'm in. It's just like what area, regardless
Quality
of the
deer.
state, has the deer that I'm interested in. And like, I feel like as I get older and just like, I've had more and more success, I'm like kind of really particular about like what I want to do and what I'm after. And, so I'm just like gravitating toward these particular spots that offer, the types of animals that I'm interested in, I guess. Probably the best way to put it. But I think you can find those deer in Vermont, but like I think they're a lot harder, and you have to pound ground and cover way more country to find them. They're not, the frequency of them isn't as good. But I'll say if you find a big giant buck in Vermont, it's a special buck, right? Like that's a really special
they're hard to
buck.
find.
So,
they're hard to find.
Super
I was
rewarding
going to ask you,
do that. I guess so that would be, I guess, a good reason to do it in Vermont. It's probably, if you can kill like a 200-pound deer in Vermont, or like a big rack buck in Vermont, if you've done something, it's a pretty big accomplishment. But so I don't know, maybe someday. I'm just like, I don't know. It's tough for me it's just not at the top of the list, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get
people always say that. When are you guys gonna deer hunt Vermont? We're like, I don't know, never.
Yeah, I get your standpoint on it for sure.
No, I'm sure that we will. John was talking.
Go
ahead.
Sorry, I would say, being that you hunt all the Northeast states, what area do you think it's easiest to find a big buck in out of all the Northeast states you hunt? I mean, obviously it's not Vermont, but
well, for me, it's for sure New Hampshire because I live here. So I think
fair. More time.
Okay, so I think there's some states that are better than others. Particular regions of states, that's probably more accurate because there's good regions, I think, of every state, and like, there's particular areas in New Hampshire that are getting harder to find big bucks in, and there's regions that are still, you can find them, and then I think there's regions of like all the states that you have them. I think that the easiest one is the one you can spend the most time in, because that's what it takes. It takes time, right?
Point.
Like you can't, it's not like I just arrive at this particular area and it's like, oh, it's a good county or a good pocket and like I'm going to find a big buck. You got to be in those pockets, but then you actually have to like go out and like find one, right? Like actually have to cover ground, and whether you're looking for tracks or sign or you're running cameras, whatever, you have to spend a lot of time. So that's how I gauge it. Like I want to go to areas that I believe I have the highest chance, if I do spend that time, of running into them. But I mean, really, I think any of the Northeast states can be pretty good. I do think maybe Vermont is a tick behind on that, honestly, and that's maybe why I haven't spent any time there. But I mean,
I'd agree on that.
Just really any of them. I mean, I've found big ones in all of them, really. I haven't killed them in all of them, but I've found them, like whether I hunted them or not, or spent time. And that's another thing I'm always doing, is like I'm trying to just decide where do I want to spend time, and it comes down to like what landscape am I going to enjoy myself the most in, and then which one has the biggest deer in general, I guess. It's not always about the biggest deer, right? But it definitely plays into the equation. It's a big part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about like there are certain places you won't even like, there's big deer there, and you don't really care to go because it's just not.
Yeah, and for me, it's a lot of the suburban stuff.
Yeah.
Like and that's in a few different states, really. Actually, like I'd say that, yeah. And I don't care for it. Like, actually, I mean, honestly, if you were trying to find a true giant, like probably the suburban stuff may be the best option, whether you're in like southern New Hampshire, southeast New Hampshire is what I'll say, or like coastal Maine, maybe like southern Maine, or, Massachusetts, down clear into Connecticut and Rhode Island, but I just don't care for that type of hunting. So like there could be the biggest deer, a state record, and I'm just not going to go. I'm good. Like I don't want to spend my time. So it's like, it's twofold. It's a landscape, but then like when I'm happy and enjoying my time, that's I have to have that. But once I get that, and that's my point with Vermont, is like that is a landscape that I really like and I'd love to spend time in. But now it's like there's other landscapes that are similar. So like which one has the biggest deer in it? And so that's just how I have kind of decided, I guess, where to go.
Have you hunted outside of New England much or no?
Yeah, I hunt Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine mostly.
Yeah.
I used to say Vermont was my favorite, but over the last 3 years, I like hunting in Maine the most. I just enjoy it. Like same with you, I just like hunting in that type of landscape, just being out there. I feel like Maine is the easiest state out of the three that I hunt primarily to find like a good buck in. Relatively, I don't want to say easy, but there it seems like there are more plenty. Like I feel like any big chunk of woods you go to in Western Maine or northern Maine. You go poke around a little bit, you'll find some sign. It seems like they lay down a lot more sign up there than they do in Vermont.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because of age class or what. Plus the woods are just so thick. So, I mean, that's probably why they survive as well. But it seems like Maine is the easiest state to find a nice buck in, a big buck. And then I'd say New Hampshire is probably next, and then Vermont third as far as finding a real quality deer.
Yeah.
You killed a couple decent bucks, right? Last
In
year?
Maine?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, I killed. I got
You
one in Maine
wanna,
last year. I got one in New Hampshire, and then passed a couple small bucks up in Vermont. But I was actually hunting a nice buck in Vermont, and he's still alive. So hopefully this year we can. He's an old deer. I mean, he's not crazy. He's probably a 120-inch 8-pointer, but
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like a lot of big bucks in Vermont, they get to that point, and like that's just what they are.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just the genetic structure of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it all goes back to how they were reintroduced back in, what was it, the 70s or something, and just the class of deer that they, reproduced with back in the day. Not saying there's not giants in Vermont, because there is.
Are those deer pretty heavy? The ones you're after that are like that buck. Do you think he's a heavy deer?
He's probably 180.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the central Vermont area, so a lot of our deer, there's not a lot of feed out in the state forest. It's a lot comes down to mass crops, beech nut years, how close they are to agricultural down. I mean, I feel like the difference between Vermont and the whites, I feel like the whites are like a round blob of forest versus Vermont is a lot of like skinny strips.
Yeah.
I don't say skinny. I mean, they're good size, but all those deer in those big mountains in Vermont can drop down into a valley and not that much effort and, get to a cornfield or get to, some type of agriculture.
Yeah. That's something that I've heard Isaac talk about. He's always like, oh, they drop down and go in the lowland and they get on post it. And I'm like, I don't really experience that in New Hampshire. You know what I mean? Like the deer that I hunt, like they're not, I mean, maybe after the season, like over the winter they do that, but like they don't really leave. Like they don't leave that country. They stay. Well, I guess the one you tracked last year kind of did that. I forgot about that. But in general, I feel like there's far less of that. And in Maine, I think it's probably the same way too. In most I mean, for sure. It just depends, but
yeah, John and I had to call Brett's taxi service to get back to the truck.
Yeah.
They
tracked a December buck that had a wild hair across his ass and just kept going all day. Took him over like 3 mountains and ended up in like town, like literally like
no shit.
Yeah, he was way up and not even close, and I don't know how far he went, but yeah, I had this hot pocket I sent them into late season, and they went up in there, and then John kept calling me. He's like, I don't know where we're going to end up. This buck just will not stop. Like, he's just straight lining it. And
heading to town.
And then, so I at dark, I went and picked him up and drove him. It was like 25, 30 minutes to get back to where you guys parked. But you guys had a lot of snow, didn't you?
Yeah, it had. It was like flirting with rain a little bit, so it was nice. Like, it had snowed a lot overnight, but then it got warm, everything got heavy, went back to snow. So, we're just trudging through it the whole day. It was, we didn't even
killing day right there.
Days like I don't even burn your legs out.
We didn't even make it 10 miles, but it was just.
You didn't, yeah.
But it was just hard walking.
Yeah, lots of downs and ups.
Yeah, a lot of that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you have planned for this year other than the Adirondacks? So you said it's your first year going to the Adirondacks?
Yeah, I've done some scouting over there, but this will be the first year hunting.
Yeah.
I think we're going to kick off the season over there because their rifle, I think, starts end of October, kind of mid to late October over there. So I think we're going to start there, do our New Hampshire hunt, muzzleloader, and then from there, we rent a camp in Western Maine for the whole month. So a lot of trail cam data that I have for Maine, it seems like the first week up there is our best chance of killing some real good bucks. So I'm probably going to be up there for the first week of Maine.
So that's the first week in November then is what you're saying?
First week in November. It seems like all the data I get up there is that first week, at least the spots that we hunt.
Really?
It seems like the bucks are on the move up there. Like they're hitting scrapes. They're very active that first week up there. And we've got a giant buck we've been hunting up there for 3 years now. And hopefully this year is going to be the year. We feel like we've got him pinned down quite a bit. But it's a real giant, so we're gonna try to make that happen this year. I mean, I don't hold back too. I mean, if I have a good hunt going and a decent buck steps up in front of me, I'm probably gonna shoot it. But it's because up there, I mean, it's so big. There's a lot of deer running around, so it's hard to pinpoint one down. But that buck is real special, so we're gonna try to hunt that one hard this year.
So, first week in November, huh?
That's what I found for up there. I mean, at least in the areas that we run cameras in.
I've heard that about particular areas of Maine before. I don't know if I'll say I've seen that in Maine, but I think I love hearing about that because it's always interesting because there's definitely areas that seem, and I think we were talking to Steve Shirk in PA about this last week, but I think that the landscape and the deer density really dictate when like the best times are. I couldn't tell you exactly why, but I just feel like areas with the same scale, like the same type of woods and like size of woods and the same deer densities seem to be the best during the same like periods, but then areas with lower densities or higher densities or small, it just seems like it's a little bit different, which is, I think just the rut plays out a little different,
Yeah.
But yeah, so are you seeing like bucks hitting scrapes hard then?
Yeah.
Like,
so
is that what it,
that first week from like the 1st to like the 8th or the 9th, we have a crazy amount of daylight bucks hitting scrapes, just on the move,
Really?
chasing does around, hitting signposts, all that stuff. And then it seems to dry up after that first week a little bit, and it seems like they get a little quieter. And it's kind of weird because like you were talking about how it's different times. Like we go from that first week of Maine where we got bucks daylight and here, there, everywhere. And then it goes to the Vermont season because I usually try to come back for opening weekend. And it seems like from like the 16th to like the 23rd in Vermont, that's when just bucks are flying around everywhere. You'd be driving around, there'd be one running across the field or crossing the road or a ton of daylight pictures and stuff. But yeah, I don't know what it is about that part of Maine. I mean, it's not even like area specific. That we have cameras way up in the mountains. We have cameras down low, close to lakes, near cuts. I don't know what it is about that first week where we go, but it seems like that first week's when they're on the move, really pounding scrapes too. That's the biggest thing.
That's pretty cool. Do you think it's related to pressure at all? Because that is the first week of this, or no? I mean, probably not. Probably not.
I don't think so. I just think it's something to do with the timing and the weather. I don't know exactly, but it's that first week. We've been running cameras up there hard for the last 3 years, and we've kind of been compiling all the data.
And you've seen this consistently for 3 straight years.
And it's consistently from November 1st to the 9th.
That's awesome.
Just year over year. There's a couple bucks that come back on the same day, year to the date. It's crazy. I don't know exactly what it is. We're still trying to figure it out, but it's that first week for us up there that seems to be the best. We're going to be there this year. I can tell you that.
You got to be there. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's because that's when gun season starts, but you wouldn't see them if gun starts on what is it like? It's right around November 1st. For whether you're a resident or not. I mean, I think there's a little bit difference in days there, a couple days there, but you would, if they were reacting to pressure, you'd see like a drop off of pressure probably by the 2nd or 3rd, right?
I feel like you do. Yeah, I think after that first week, I feel like that first week's probably the least amount of pressure of like out-of-state hunters and Vermonters and stuff. I think that second week's when just being in town when we're up there. Right. I feel like that second week you start seeing more people. Not that there isn't a crowd the first week, because there is. I mean, a lot of people go to Maine, a lot of people hunt. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But it seems like that second week you really get that first real big crowd where you see a lot more trucks, a lot more rigs, and it's kind of the week before Vermont deer season, so people are knocking the rust off and then heading back to Vermont after that. But it seems like you get the cameras cool off like the first couple days of that second week, at least for us.
That might be it then, because I think they're going to react to pressure pretty quick, like within a day or two, So if you had a spike in pressure, you'd probably see dramatic decrease in, activity right after it, not like a week after. And that's why I was thinking, well, it's the opening day, but it doesn't sound like it. Maybe that second wave, the second week. Do you see any periods later in the month where it kicks up, or even early December, or not really?
Not really. I feel like by the end there, I mean, it obviously depends on the weather, but if you start getting some heavy snow, they don't hang around too long. Way out there. They're heading to the yard. I mean, we went up there. I tagged out the first week, but I went back with Greg to do some filming, and we went up there, up into that area where we had something like, it was like 12 or 13 different bucks hitting this one scrape the first week, all daylight, 12 or 13 different bucks. It was just like this crazy community hub scrape. And there was a ton of deer around there through the whole, mid part of the season. Sounds awesome. By the end, those deer were just gone.
Okay, that's really good information.
Weird, yeah.
That's really good information.
I think that spot too, that specific community scrape, that's like, it's like a hole dug in the ground. They're just, I don't know what it is about that. It's kind of between two cuts. But like in other areas too, it seems like you start getting that colder weather and that heavier snow, and they're just burgering out, heading to town.
What have you seen in late October? Would you say that
you do get some bucks. You start that last week of October, you'll get a handful of bucks, some nighttime, few daytime, but it just seems like it really turns on that first week for us.
That's interesting.
Because you'll go
I like that.
tail end of summer, like through September, and you might have a couple bucks on camera that kind of just hang around, that are kind of more resident in that area, but you start getting towards the end of that October, and they start showing up more, cycling through, kind of getting their loops down and stuff.
That's good information. So how many bucks did you say? 14?
12. It was either 12 or 13 on that. That's just one area. That was just this one specific scrape.
That
Crazy.
Breakdown.
But
what would you say, like, age class? I mean, obviously it's an estimate, but like roughly, like how would you break that down into, like, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4, like that type of thing?
I would say probably 25% like 1.5-year-old spikes, little crotch horns, stuff like that. Probably another 25% like 2 to 3-year-old bucks. Maybe a little bit more, probably more like 30 to 40% like 2 to 3-year-old bucks, basket rack, stuff like that. And then there is a good chunk of some really nice, there's probably 3 or 4 that definitely had some age to them. But yeah, it was just something about that area.
I mean, that's a
and then
pretty good, damn good age class. I think that's
I feel like you see that in all of Maine, in all our areas. You have a pretty good age class throughout, no matter where we're running cameras, where you get the young bucks, you get the medium bucks, you get the older bucks.
I mean,
seems like.
I find that, I don't know, because I don't know that I've even have to think off the top of my head. I don't think I've even run cameras in Vermont for deer, but I feel like I find that pretty much throughout the Northeast, to be honest with you, like that age class.
Think so?
I think that's one thing we have going for us that people may not realize, that like we have a really, compared to a lot of places, we have a really good age class. We have a high percentage of bucks. Well, we were just looking at something about New Hampshire last week.
Yeah.
But we have a pretty high percentage of bucks that are making it to maturity and then
it was only
sneaking through.
Yeah, it had fluctuated quite a bit over the last 5 years, up and down, but it was only it was just over 30% of the bucks taken were year and a half.
So let's go back to Vermont. What do you see age class wise in Vermont?
I don't see it as much like that, like you guys are talking. I feel like my Vermont cameras, I'll have just a couple bucks, and it's usually one nice buck that like I'm kind of somewhat after, and then you might have a smaller 1.5-year-old or 2.5-year-old buck kicking around on it. I don't see like the full blown age structure, I don't think, versus like compared to Maine. It's a Vermont. I mean, you look at our harvest numbers, and I think almost a majority is 1.5-year-old bucks. Like Vermonters pull the trigger. Like that's everybody knows that.
Man,
so I
it's
think
just a tough. I will say all the areas that I've run cameras in and hunt in the Northeast, I see that, and just all over. Like honestly, like several different states. Or all the states I've poked around in. I don't hunt them all. Like I do way more scouting and running cameras in places than like actually hunting places. Like I'm always like poking here and here and moving around and find this deer, and well, maybe I'll keep track of him. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely hard hunting here, but the one luxury we do have is like older deer in a good age class. Like that is one thing that we have. So it's cool because, man, if the whole Northeast was like Vermont,
I might have an area where there's one buck, he's pretty common in there, and then one day I'll have a new 8-pointer that comes through, hits the scrape, you'll never see that deer again. The next day you'll have another 6-pointer come through, hit the scrape, you'll never see him again. It's more random, it seems like. I don't know if they have bigger loops in Vermont. I don't know if it's because our like buck to doe ratio is different compared to other states, and they're just doing bigger loops and hunting around more.
The one
what
thing
that is, but
that would be more similar to the Adirondacks that I could think of is I think you have a lot less cutting.
Yeah, we got like hardly any.
Yeah, and so there's a lot less food in the woods, so they probably have to travel more to get the food that they need, I would think. New Hampshire, Maine has a fair amount of cutting. I think that's a big reason. It always just blows my mind how Vermont is just so different. I mean,
It
the
is.
hunters, you guys are relentless. Like, there's no doubt. Like, Vermonters are freaking relentless hunters. Like,
Yeah.
they're just so hard on anything, really. Like, they just kill, and they're freaking good at it. Like, I'll give it to them.
If they did some more cutting in the whites, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
guys
do,
could use
but
some
they
more
do
out
cut.
there.
I mean, they definitely. I mean,
Mhm.
is there much? There is some. Yeah, it's tough when the national forest. Like whether you're in the Green Mountains or the Whites or whatever, it's just tough.
They were saying that was one of the big issues with the moose population up there. It was just the lack
in the
of,
White Mountains.
Yeah, it was the lack of
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, well, I mean, cuts. I mean, they're great for. There's definitely some areas where I think there's some areas of Maine and like northern. Well, a lot in Maine that's like. It's kind of like ridiculous how much they've cut. I think it's almost to a detriment to an extent. But in general, like cutting's great for everything.
It brings life out. It brings everything out.
Yeah.
I mean, you see more cut. I mean, Matt, you're from Northeast Kingdom. You see a lot more cutting up that way.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say.
Down my way.
Yeah.
And that used to be like, I mean, that's like where all the 200 pounders came from the last, 10, 15, 20 years. But I feel like you're seeing less 200 pounders up in the Northeast Kingdom now than you used to. Do you see that too, Matt?
Yeah, the racks definitely aren't there. That's for sure. But no, I don't know.
Do you think that's because there's more people hunting them up there than there used to be?
I mean,
because if there's cut, I mean, there's a lot of cuts up there. There should be the food.
It's a relatively small area. I just think there's a lot of hunters concentrated in a very small area.
I guess what I'm getting at is maybe the age class up there isn't what it used to be because of the pressure. And so
I would say that's probably pretty
regardless
accurate.
of what people think, like the majority of bucks need to get to maturity before the 200 pounds, right? Like,
yeah,
of course there's there's 3-year-olds up there that will make it and probably a 2-year-old every now and again, but like you need a mature animal to get that heavy for the most part. And if they're just less mature animals on the landscape, there's going to be less 200-pound deer. It's just,
yeah,
statistically.
As far as long term, I can't really say much because I've been living in New Hampshire I've been out of Vermont since I went to college when I was 18.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
But growing up though, did you remember those days of like growing up? It seemed like all the bigger bucks were coming out of the Northeast Kingdom.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, for sure. I remember. I don't remember how old I was. I was probably like 6, 7 years old, maybe. My grandfather had he got a moose permit for E1, and that was like the first time I had really driven around out all through that part of the state, and it seems like there was more of everything really.
So
yeah, moose for sure.
Yeah, there was a pile of moose.
Maybe would you say where you're at's more similar to southern or northern Vermont?
Probably. Boy, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I mean, we don't have the same type of forest as like the Northeast Kingdom. Like typically where I hunt the state forest down here, it's beech, it's maple, it's a lot of hardwoods.
Yeah.
Some people compare it to the Adirondacks.
Okay.
In some sense, as far as how that sets up.
Yep.
I mean, I guess probably more similar to southern Vermont, but I feel like I don't have shit for oaks up my way at all.
Right.
Like, there's like hardly any oaks where I am. But you go south a little bit and you start to get in some more oaks and stuff like that. Or you get over closer to New Hampshire, you get more oaks, or over towards the Champlain Valley, you get more oaks, and Addison County down that way, you get more fields. So we're kind of like we're like our own little pocket right here in the central part of the state, more mountainous. Yeah. Hunt similar to, some of the areas in the Whites where you don't have oaks, where it's a lot of hardwoods and beech and all that stuff.
I'm just thinking about like the 200-pound thing and the antler thing. Obviously, I would say in general Vermont just doesn't have. Although like I know there's some good ones, and there's been a few killed in the last few years that have been really good. So I'll give Vermont that. Like,
there's one we know of too that didn't get killed. That was really
there's a few of them we know of that didn't get killed that are like exceptional bucks, like for anywhere. But I don't know. I feel like those are pretty rare. Even I mean they exist. We'll say that. But it seems like those 200-pounders are pretty rare in the middle and southern part of Vermont.
There's definitely not a lot of 200-pounders in my area. I mean, if you go on the reporting stations, I feel like you probably see 2 or 3 from the central Vermont area. Like R&L Archery is probably one of the biggest reporting stations up here. I feel like you see probably 2 or 3 200-pounders. Not a ton of them. I mean, you see a lot on 140, 150 weight deer. I feel like that's your average.
You literally jump the river and you have straight 200 pounders from like the Mass border to the Canadian border in New Hampshire. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, Northern New Hampshire probably has like, they're probably a little heavier on average, but like, there's 200 pounders from the seacoast to the Connecticut River from the Mass border. Like, literally, like I don't want to say they're common, but there's a hell of a lot more than 2
abundant.
at every checking
Yeah,
station. There's probably like 10 at every checking station. I don't know, maybe not 10, but I mean, and that's just
there was one that
so
got hit
interesting that like it can't.
There was
I refuse to believe the genetics are that much different from crossing a river. And so I have to think it's like hunter pressure and age and food. I don't know.
Did New Hampshire have any reintroduction efforts similar to Vermont? I feel like that plays a big part because when we had that Virginia strain of deer, which I mean is going to be lighter weight and kind of more spindly racks, which is what you see for the most part in Vermont. I feel like growing up, deer coming out of the Northeast Kingdom still had that, that like old northern strain, gnarly looking, like what you see in Maine and New Hampshire, kind of like the gnarly racks and just brute looking animals versus I feel like we have more of those spindly deer, skinnier deer here. So I don't know, did you guys have those introduction efforts over that way or not?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. But how long ago was that? Do we know? You got to be talking 100 years ago, right? Because I think deer, there were like no deer in like the late 1800s when everything was sheep
I think
farms.
I think it was late 1800s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They did that.
But my thought is that like, and yeah, obviously like it's a big area, but like deer cross the river, they cross state lines. You think that it would eventually assimilate to an extent, right? I will say this though, I do think there's like a line that runs, I'd say north to south, and then maybe even east to west. Like the more south and west you get, you seem to get like a sleeker, smaller bodied, more athletic deer in the Northeast. This is a super big generalization, but I feel like the further north and east you get like this bigger. And I see it like in a lot of areas that I hunt where it's like I have both. It's like I have both. Like I'll have a camera and a scrape, and I'll get like a 200 plus pound deer with this huge blockhead, and he's like big and long and thick. And then I have another deer that's also I know is old, and he's like he's like 170 pound buck dressed, and just I don't know. It's interesting, and I think there are pockets that trend one way, more towards one. It's got to be a genetic thing, but it's just I don't know. It's just very interesting to me. It's crazy how different it is, and there's such similar.
I'm sure it's a bunch of different factors.
Yeah.
I mean, between the hunting pressure in Vermont, having more over here, the genetic structure, lack of feed, it's probably just a blend of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I feel like there's a decent population of deer in Vermont compared. I mean, if you come to Vermont, I feel like you can see deer easier than if you're just striking out in New Hampshire somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of does. We get a shitload of does, a lot of small bucks and stuff.
I was just watching a video the other day. They expanded a couple of the seasons, didn't they? By like a week or something.
Yep. Yeah. They get is a little bit more bow now. You can hunt bow all the way through.
Yeah, I think there was something about crossbows in there also.
That's New Hampshire. We got crossbows.
We got crossbows. They're legal over here.
Okay.
They're legal.
They're legal over here. Yeah. For the last 3 years, anybody can use a crossbow over here.
Yeah, we got that now.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna see a lot.
What's your take? That's a hot topic right there, the crossbow thing. What's your take?
Brett's a huge crossbow fan.
I can see both sides of it. So I'm curious to see what you think.
I don't know what my take is.
I think it can be a great opportunity to get people into archery season or into archery hunting.
I feel like the barrier. Well, it's exactly why you just said that. The barrier to entry for crossbow is a lot less compared to a vertical bow.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel.
We'll see it all play out.
I'm like I have mixed feelings. Like selfishly, I don't like it. Like for me personally, I don't like it, and I guess the reasons would be probably going to see more people like in September and October stomping around in the big woods and the mountains with a bow, and they probably can, but like basically hunting with a crossbow like they would with a rifle, where it's like with a vertical bow, it's a little bit more challenging to do that. And I really like the fact that like there's like no one in those areas like during archery season typically. And I have it to myself. So that's like a selfish thing. So I guess that's probably not a great reason that I can like feel good about saying, oh, I'm against crossbows.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe for the hunting culture, it's like good to have something that's challenging and that you have to work at. And I feel like archery is that. If you want to be like proficient and like a good bow hunter, you have to like spend a lot of time. And I think that's a good thing. I think it, anything that you have to, I don't think things should be super easy, I guess is what I'm saying. To get into. But like to your point, Matt, yeah, it's probably good to introduce people. I'm all for it for sure for old people or young people. Like I don't like that's 100% or disabled people or injured, like for sure. Yeah. Like, but to me, it's like, and it's, I also grew up bow hunting. I mean, I've shot a crossbow one time. I shot my buddies in Ohio. They're legal out there. My buddy's dad's, and he has like issues with eyesight, so he uses a scope. And like honestly, for him, that probably makes sense, right? And I mean, it's just like I pick it up, and you're shooting, quarters at 40 yards. The first 2 or 3 shots were shot with a crossbow. It's like, I mean, it's a cross gun. It's what, like, yeah. I mean, here's what I'll say. I think that they're great for opportunity. I just don't think we should kid ourselves and say that it's art. It's not like bow hunting to me. It's just not the same thing. It's not even close. It just isn't. Like there's just there's a lot of differences, and people will say that with like a compound bow versus traditional archery, and I think they have a point there. But I think the barrier to entry for crossbows is so low, and it's so different that I think it's a different thing. So I don't know.
Last year, I shot a doe with a crossbow.
Did you?
I tried it out. So I was always kind of up through. I was like, I'm not going to crossbow. I've always bow hunted all the way up through. But last year, I just out behind my house, just a small little chunk of land. There's always does out there needed to me. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my dad's crossbow out there. Shot one with a crossbow. Much easier. I'll say that. It is much easier.
Yeah.
Just for meat hunting and stuff like that. I agree with you. It does give opportunity to, younger people, older people.
Yeah.
Getting into it. I think the worst part about crossbows is when people treat them like they're shooting a muzzleloader or shooting a gun. I feel like if you put them in the wrong hands of a certain type of person, they're going to take shitty shots. You're going to have more deer running around with, leg wounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to the character of the person that's using them. So obviously when you open them up to everybody can get their hands on them, and that's kind of the shittier part of it.
Yeah. I mean,
but at the same time, you got 2 weeks later, you get gun season. So it's, where do you draw? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in New Hampshire, it's way more. It's like 6 weeks. It's 6 more weeks of hunting because we're September 15th, right? So it's
that's true. Yeah,
it's pretty significant. So. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So I guess the biggest thing would be for people is like, I like to gun hunt. I gun hunt all the time. I enjoy it. I think it's great. But I feel like learning archery and learning to bow hunt is like almost like an art or a skill that's it takes a lot of time, and I feel like it's super rewarding, and and if you don't have the time, I understand. But if you don't think that it's the same journey and the same fulfillment and is rewarding to crossbow hunt versus vertical bow hunt, it's just like I just think that you can really get a lot personally and just like out of archery and bow hunting and learning how to bow hunt, right? Like there's a lot to be, like a lot of fulfillment, a lot you can learn from it. It hones your skills, how to be close to animals, and you have to be relatively close with a crossbow too, but you don't have to draw a bow, right? It's just a lot less movement.
I think so.
They're a lot faster too. Like you can get away, like just reading body language of animals, right? They're going to drop less. So like just learn, like there's just so many things. It's like it's a deep dive when you get into bow hunting if you want to do it like at a high level. And like I'd encourage people to go that route rather than just go take the easy. It's almost like the easy button for bow. It's like what it comes down to, I guess.
I agree with you 100%. There is definitely a broader skill set you need when it comes to actually hunting with a compound bow and stuff like that. Being that I shot one with it last year, I mean, one of the main reasons I shot one with that is we recorded a live podcast during that hunt out of the blind.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of part of that, just kind of a fun thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a totally different ballgame. It's another really, it's totally different than archery
Yeah.
hunting.
I think somebody saying that they don't have time is just a complete bullshit excuse. Like
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
yes,
know.
you have
I
to.
get it, but
Yes,
I
you have to
get
go
it.
get your bow set up or tuned once a year or whatever. And but to say it's 10 minutes at most. You should go shoot a half a dozen arrows a couple times a week. Like
And it's a real
you,
skill.
you,
Like
you
it's an
don't you don't need
actual.
to you don't need to
It's
be good enough to shoot 50, 60 yards. But okay, so limit yourself
yeah,
to whatever your skill set is, and say that.
yeah. It is, and it's a
That's
legit
it.
skill. It's
Yeah.
not like, and I guess shooting a gun, of course, is a skill too. But you know, I just feel like people are more proficient with a gun in general because like a lot of people shoot anyway or grew up
Yeah.
around. Not everybody, but a lot of people. The learning curve for a gun is, I don't know. I'll say this, like I don't. I shoot a fair amount. I don't shoot as much a gun as much as like I think a lot of guys, but like I've never had problems making any shots on, like animals in the woods. Like you don't have to practice as much with a gun, I guess. Once you know how to shoot a gun, like you just know how to shoot a gun. Like obviously there's some skills, like some of the guys that are shooting deer running, like that's a skill, right? That is a real skill. And I'm not saying the gun, but I just don't think the crossbow, like the skill thing that's part of it. It's like get good at what you're doing. There should be some barrier to entry and some challenge to what you're doing to get to a level of success. And like, I think when you can just literally like you just go pick that thing up and you can hunt like shoot it a couple times and like, oh, this is easy, and like go hunt. I mean, if someone, don't get me wrong, I would suggest if someone's going to crossbow, they should practice even with a crossbow, but like, if you can shoot a gun accurately, you can pick up a crossbow and go hunting with it like that day. Like that's my
Put a
point.
scope on. Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
same type of scope. Yeah.
That's my point. So I don't know. I mean,
It'll be
I guess
if they
here's what
legalize
I'll say. If it negatively affects the deer population and the age structure, that would be something I'd be opposed to. If it's a wash, then whatever. Go do it however you want.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to do it, good. But I would say though, like, I would encourage people to learn how to bow hunt. That's what I'd say. Like,
good.
learn how to bow hunt. It's awesome. It really is.
You'll learn a lot about deer too.
Yeah.
With a compound up in a tree, I agree.
I mean, I've only bow hunted. I shot some deer like in my, let's see, early 20s with guns. First couple big bucks, one with a muzzler, one with a slug gun, and then like I bow hunted only for like 10 years.
Oh really?
Yeah, I just bow hunted, and then I think it was like probably 7 or 8 years ago I started gun hunting again, just because I was like, I just think I want to gun hunt now. But for sure, like I would prefer to bow hunt. Like if it came down to it, like when I think of like the most, in my mind, the purest, like most gratifying hunt in my opinion is a bow hunt. Like it definitely is. Like and I'm not knocking gun hunting at all. Like I gun hunt every year and I love it. Shoot plenty of deer with a gun. I got no issue. But like, yeah, I mean, there's just something different about it. Obviously, like in the big woods and like tracking, like yeah, that's pretty tough with a bow. It's not really the right application for archery, So that's
You're gonna go down a rabbit hole once you get that recurve put together.
That's why it's not together.
It's
just sitting over there. I don't even know that I'll put it together this year. Honestly, I'm gonna look at it for a couple of years, and then because when I pick that thing up, it's gonna be. I'm just not ready for that. I got it.
Those are fun to shoot.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm not ready for it.
Yeah,
I'm not ready to limit myself yet. Like
you're gonna be wearing
severely limit myself.
You're gonna be wearing moccasins hiking up the mountain, and
well, the big thing is I'm not gonna. I know it's gonna take me like a couple of years to become as proficient as I want to be, right? Like with it, and I'm not gonna hunt with it if I'm not. So it's just it's gonna be a slow process.
What is like the capability of one of those? I mean, it obviously depends on.
Man, I don't think many people are stretching up much past 30 yards on like deer. I think most people are like 20 and in or 25 and in. Really, that's from what I gather. They're so slow too. Like the deer have a ton of time to move. I mean, they're shooting like under 200 feet per second.
Do you know what how many pounds it is? What you're
is that thing right there?
It's on the floor.
The limbs would say it, I think, I think it may be a 60-pound bow. I can't remember what it was. which may be too much weight. This one's an elite. So these are, 60-pound limbs, which may be too heavy. Well, not too heavy, but maybe I should have started with a lighter one is what I'm saying. But I don't know. I shoot an 80-pound compound, so I might be all right. We'll see. So you got Vermont, Adirondacks, and Maine. That's on the board for you this year?
It'll probably be Adirondacks, New Hampshire, Maine, and then Vermont.
Oh, New Hampshire too. Gotcha.
Yep.
Have you thought about doing anything and bringing the Stagr Gear and the Stagger train to some other states outside of New England?
Yeah, that's the plan for 2026. We're gonna do Maine Sportsman Show. We're looking into the Harrisburg show there.
In PA.
That seems like a good one. Then just doing a few more around. I mean, it's definitely a Northeast niche brand. So, but we would like to expand out of that. So we're slowly working that way. I mean, you're starting to see more people down PA, a lot more in like the North Midwest, so like Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. That's kind of one of our bigger growth areas there, just because I feel like they kind of have the same type of roots as Northeast hunters do. So yeah, it's growing, it's expanding, and I feel like there is. I mean, hunting gear, it's like in cycles. Like right now, we're kind of like a technical cycle, but if you look back over the years, it's like every 15, 20 years is like a different type of fad. And I feel like right now, people are starting to turn back towards wool in some ways, and like kind of towards that like retro stuff or like older stuff. So I feel like that's kind of boosting it there too. But yeah, it's slowly expanding across, the Northeast, and then, the upper Midwest out that way.
Yeah, I think that upper Midwest makes a lot of sense. I think should even up into Canada, which I don't know how that would really work, but that would make.
We sell in Canada. We do some little. Yeah, we do some business up there.
I bet. What about, have you had much from like Northwest Montana or like Northern Idaho or like Washington?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think pretty much we've sold. We were looking at a map of it. We've sold I think 43 of the lower 48 states we've sold into. But yeah, there's some business out west. I think people out there are kind of leaning into that traditional side as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's expanding, it's growing out, and kind of doing more marketing and stuff to broaden it as well has helped with that. So.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm excited to see, because I think the brand has a lot of potential, and outside of the Northeast too, honestly.
And I think as we expand and do more of the synthetic stuff, it'll kind of be a gateway and a bridge to pull more people in, because a lot of these guys have never had anything wool on in their life that are more southern hunters and farther down the East Coast and stuff like that. So I mean, I think as we slowly expand the product line and offer both, because there really isn't a company out there that sells both for the most part, that traditional stuff and the more technical stuff. So we'll just see how the brand goes and keep growing it little by little and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I hate talked to this before. I don't know on the podcast, but like I don't like the modern camo like at all. Like the look of it.
We kind of talked about that a little while ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's like, ugh.
In what way?
I don't know. I just feel like it feels
like the digital type stuff.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I just don't care for it. Like I wear it because the clothing that I want to wear has it printed on it. But I don't really like I just don't. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how important camo is, to be honest with you. Like if you honestly, have I don't think it's as important as you make it out to be. And I kind of tested that this turkey season. I turkey hunted in green and black check a bunch this year, and I had very close encounters with birds that didn't even nothing different than camo. I mean, there's a reason the checkered it's so good. I mean, it's how many thousands of deer have been killed in green and black checkered. It's, you know what I mean? And like solids too. I like wearing solids a bunch. Deer look right through you. I really don't know. I don't think camo plays as big of a thing as. Don't get me wrong. I think like if you were in like bright colors and like really like I think there's probably something that isn't great, but like if you have like, natural tones or earth tones or
earth tones.
and maybe you're not all the same, like your pants and your shirt, and you're not all the same, like monotonous with zero. But really, if you think about it, a lot of it's shadows too, and your body isn't like a sheet, right? So most people have contours in their body and some sort of shape to them, right? And you're not so it's pretty easy to break up that outline, I guess, if you have, and also it's like, don't move and have good cover, like have a good hide, or like stay behind stuff. Like that's a big one too. So I don't know. I just don't think it really makes a huge difference. I mean, maybe a little camo in there, something to break it up is good, like the checker stuff, right? Like that is probably all you need, like something like that. And maybe not even that much sometimes. But like I wish, and there is other companies, but I feel like they're not super geared towards like hunters, like some of the technical, like I go back to like the backpacking type stuff or like expedition type gear. Like obviously a lot of that has earth tones, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of that stuff is super loud. And a lot of the colors are obnoxious, right? Like this don't work well. So
I feel like the best thing for camo is snow is where I find it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
When you have a bunch of snow on the ground or in the trees, there's something about snow camo when you walk up on a deer on like a snowy day and you're wearing a snow camo jacket, they pause, they give you a little bit more grace as far as sitting there looking at you. They know something's not right, but they can't figure it out because they don't have that like dark contrast. That's where I notice camo plays the biggest differences with snow camo.
Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't ever really worn snow camo. I have, but not like, I haven't had those experiences that you have, but it makes sense. I mean, think about anything white in the snow, like how well it will, blend in.
That's where I think it plays the biggest difference versus the bare ground stuff. I feel like with bare ground, you have such a variation of colors where, you got your spruce trees, your fir trees, your hardwoods, you got shadows from the rock. So there's plenty of like contrast to break you up. But when you lay that fresh white snow down or in the trees and everything, everything is that similar tone. So, I mean, you go out and you wear, a dark green jacket or, a solid color, you're going to create a much more noticeable outline.
Yeah, I would agree.
With that white backdrop versus when you're wearing that snow camo, it really just breaks you up.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
We got a new snow camo jacket coming out this year. That's one thing we can talk about right now.
Oh, really?
That's coming out. Yeah, we did a run of them a couple years ago, and those were good. And then we kind of went back to drawing board, wanted to change some stuff up with them, and that's finally coming out this year. So
nice.
Excited about that. We get a lot of requests for snow camos, pants, jackets, all that stuff. So I think people catch on to the difference it makes.
It's so funny because like I feel like snow camo is like a lot bigger deal in the Adirondacks.
Well, they love it out there. I mean,
so it's so funny how it's like people get tied to these like. I mean, it's just interesting. I don't know. It's
cultural norms and stuff.
It's
they
crazy.
Have their own deer hunting culture over there. I mean, over there, wool even isn't as big. I mean, it's big because it's Northeast, but they really love the polar fleece over there. The Adirondack guys, like the old school Adirondack guys, they all wear that. Like, I think it's Cabela's made it back in the day.
Yeah.
Just a polar fleece that had a liner on the inside of it. But a lot of those Adirondack guys love the polar fleece. The Northeast is just crazy overall. I mean, if you take a step back and look at it, all the different states, how different they hunt, and then like the cultures amongst them as far as deer hunters go, like the Vermonters, the New Yorkers, the Mainers. It's weird. I mean, it's probably for a lot of guys, it's like can't wrap their head around it. I'm sure a lot of like Midwesterners that hunt are probably like, what the fuck are those guys doing up there? You know what I mean?
Agree. Like, what? Okay, whatever. I don't know what you guys are doing up there. But like, it's funny. Well, it's tough to get that perspective if you haven't really paid attention to much else, right? Like you don't know, but like I always saw it because I traveled and like I also taught myself to hunt and my family didn't. So I was like taking influences from everywhere, trying to learn, and not just here, like Midwest, like all over the place. And I was like, man, I'm seeing a lot of wildly different stuff all over the place. And I just kind of took stuff from, everything that I liked and put together what I thought, worked the best for me. But there was really, I guess probably how I differ from a lot of people around here is like I really had no traditional influence on any of my gear or the way that I hunted. Like I didn't because there was no tradition in my family. And like I understand it, obviously, and I know that it exists, but like it just didn't influence my decision making on my gear or the way that I hunted. And I think a lot of there's a reason it's tradition because it works and it's effective, but I think some of it's just kind of like dated and we can do a little better potentially. And maybe we don't need to, and maybe it doesn't matter. And, I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of times when guys like myself or whatever, I'll just speak for myself, I get caught up sometimes in like, oh, what's better, what's best, what's going to make you the most successful. But for a lot of people, that's not what they're looking for, right? That's their experience is different, and that's okay. So, if they want it, for the rubber boots, like, hey, I like to wear my rubber boots because I like the smell of rubber and I like that feeling. That's hunting to me, right? It's like freaking awesome, dude. Rock them, go for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I guess from a technical standpoint, I feel like there's some things we can tweak, and that's why I think Stagger's done a good job of taking the good and then maybe improving on some of the stuff that can be improved on, because there's new technologies and new ideas and all that stuff that, it's pretty cool. Anything else you want to touch upon?
I think we got it all. We talked a little bit of gear, talked some hunting, talked some comparisons. I think we got a pretty well-rounded episode there.
All right. So are you going to sit on that scrape the first week in November in Maine?
Yeah. So I'm not a sitter.
I know that. That's why I'm asking you.
But yes, Greg and I talked about this, and it's definitely that first week. We're just going to have to lock in and sit. It drives me nuts sitting, but dude, we have to. We've had, last year, that big one that we were after, he daylighted twice that first week. And of course it was days where we were somewhere else. Greg's more of a sitter than I am. So he'll lock in, he'll sit there all day long. But yeah, I'm going to force myself to sit because it's not just that one scrape. It's other scrapes we have that are miles from that one. But yeah, I'm going to lock in. I'm going to sit that first week. Yeah. Make myself do it. Hate myself the whole week, but I'm going to do it.
Dude, what you have there is a gold mine for a sitter. So
yeah,
I'm telling you, I know, but oh man, it's just when you have those annual patterns in a particular spot or a couple spots, and you have a really good deer, it's you have really high odds. You really do.
Yeah.
Maybe pretty close to the highest odds you have. There's other periods where your odds are pretty good. Don't get me wrong, or can be. But for me, it's like early archery. It's the situation you're talking about right now. At some point during the rut, whether that's late October into November, with the annual data, and then it's fresh snow on and you have a big buck track. Those are the three scenarios that, in my opinion, in this region of the country is super high odds, and that's one of them. So yeah, I would.
Yeah, no, we'll be doing some setting. We really didn't figure it. This is that was our third year running cameras hard up there. So, it took that 3 years just to get the data to fully understand. But now that we have this and we're okay, this buck was here on November 3rd, 2022. He was here November 4th, it's just now that we have all that data and stuff to put together. So there's going to be more sitting. It's going to be part of it. But I just like getting out and stretching the legs. So that's
I know.
What I like to do.
Yeah, I know. You got Vermont for that. You got New Hampshire for that. You got the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
It's a golden opportunity.
It is, and I feel like that we have those areas. It helps a lot because I feel like people in Maine, they're kind of always holding out for that snow. But I've kind of fallen in love with bare ground hunting up there just because of the mystery of it, and kind of now that we understand the deer better, I look forward to actually bare ground hunting up there versus. I feel like on a snowy day up there, because a lot of people are waiting around for the snow, waiting for the snow. You get a snowy day, and it's everybody's out driving around looking for a track to cross the road or something like that, So I like bare ground hunting up there. It can make you want to beat your head off a tree sometimes just because how thick shit is and how noisy it is up there. But once you start to figure out an area, it just comes back to time, having experience in the area and knowing it.
Time in the woods, you can't beat that.
That's the biggest thing. You said it on the podcast before. It all comes down to time.
Yeah, the more time
I feel like that throws a lot of dudes off that get just a few days to hunt a year with everybody, all these big buck hunters and stuff that have all this time and are telling you to do this and this and this. But if you're somebody that only gets a couple 3 days a year, it kind of makes it unrealistic for a lot of people.
100%, man. 100%. You need the time. You need, and I think I talked about this. I think. With William Altman, we talked about you need the time, and then you need the time during the right time, right?
Freedom to choose.
It's twofold. You need time, and then you need to spend it during, the right periods or the right windows that we talked about, some of those windows. And they may be different for other people. Those are the three that stick out in my mind as really high odds if you can, get in the right situation or is that early archery, that period during the rut when you have an annual pattern in a particular spot. And then, of course, when you have that fresh snow. But if you can take the time and be there during those, periods or whatever suits your hunting style, like, man, that's what it takes to be consistent, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got to keep me updated on that.
Yeah. I'll let you know how it goes.
If you need like a pep talk to sit there longer, like I'm your guy to gas you up for that. Like I'll tell you all the secrets.
There's a couple real good ones up there. I'll have to run it by Greg.
You got to be there, man. You got to be there.
Yeah. No, we will be this year for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way if you're going to target and try to kill a real big one. Like if you know where he's going to be, and you got years of information, like, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I'm hoping this year. We got a lot of history with him, a lot of pictures, and man, we've had some close calls too. We've missed him. We've gone and checked that. There's missed him just by a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's no cell service in there, so we've gone in there. I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I can't remember what it is, but we were just down below the cut, and he was in there like 11 minutes before that. It's just close, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this year it's going to go down, but I mean, there's a lot of other good bucks in there, so not just completely locking in on him, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Stay in touch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Check out Stagr Gear. What's the website? Stagr Gear.
It's just staggergear.com. Yeah, check it out.
It's cool. Like, it's good stuff.
Reach out to us.
I mean, if you guys aren't familiar with it, check it out. I like it. I mean, I have a fair amount of it. It's good stuff. It's worth checking out. Local company, which I think is great. And in it, I think, for the right reasons and trying to do the right things and bring stuff that's actually geared for us. So thank you, Adam. Have a good night. Thanks for staying up with us tonight on Thursday. We're getting a little late, so we'll let you run. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one.